We did a bunch of surveys up on our the 10th segment, the northern end of our back arc survey area. There's clearly some pretty major vent sites up there.
Once we get a good idea where there's a vent site from our Toyos or from the AUV Sentry, the idea is to take the vertical cast, stop the ship, lower it right down to where you think the best chance of seeing a vent is, and then sampling those fluids coming out of the seafloor at the highest concentration you could do.
It was obvious that we were right over a vent because we saw really big optical signals all the way to the seafloor. So I think we were like right on top of a chimney because the signals were really big.
The temperature of the water near the seafloor was a degree or two higher than ambient. That doesn't sound like very much, but the fluids come out at maybe 100 degrees or 200 degrees from the seafloor, and you think that's hot. But you can hold my distance to you away from a 300-degree vent and you wouldn't notice any heat. The water gets diluted so quickly by the ocean that normally 1/100th of a degree is a big deal. Here we're getting a full degree, which means the water has been diluted by only a factor of 10 or 100 as opposed to a factor of 1,000.
The crew member who picked that part of the segment in the bedding pool was in the room while we were making the CTD cast, and he was rooting for it.
You're all invited to spend the reward.
We knew we were within probably tens of meters of where, or less, of where water is coming out of the seafloor, and got some really good samples of the fluids from those vents.
Helium is the very first thing we actually sample when the CTD is coming back on deck. We are actually afraid that we would lose some of the helium because it's degassing. I look at a certain type of helium, and this type is not formed anywhere on Earth anymore, but it is present since the formation of Earth. And this special type of helium is only degassed by volcanic eruptions or hydrothermal vents. So as soon as we find this helium in the water column, we are absolutely sure there must be an eruption site close. So this is why we are very excited about the helium.
That northern site was known before, and then there were other known sites way in the south end. But what's nice about this expedition is we've discovered several sites in between the two. So we've got a nice spread of vent sites throughout the back arc now to investigate next year.
You know, it's like trying to find something in a forest at night from a helicopter dangling a flashlight from it. It takes forever if you don't know where you're going. We've saved days and days and days of looking around next year for ROV, and so all the time they spend on the seafloor will be really sampling and making measurements as opposed to where do we go next, we're driving around and not seeing nothing.
The surveys that the ship can do are very coarse. The great thing about having these high-resolution maps that Sentry creates is that it gives you so much detail. You can actually, see things with the video camera that you can relate to features on the map. The seas have been pretty rough the last few days, and you're constantly having to brace yourself and make sure you don't topple over. The forecast is it's supposed to get better, so hopefully it won't last too much longer. We've got 2 to go, segments 9 and 8, and so we'll see what happens. There's still a chance that we might find something extraordinary on those segments too.